MSW Media.
News with swearing. Daily beans, daily beans. Daily beans, daily beans.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Beans for Friday, November 7th, 2025. Today, Sandwich Guy was unanimously acquitted by the jury in D.C. Judge Ellis has issued a preliminary injunction against ICE and Customs and Border Protection in Chicago, finding the government's version of events isn't credible and that Greg Bovino lied. The Border Patrol agent in Chicago who shot Marimar Martinez is caught bragging about it in text messages. Nancy Pelosi has announced her retirement from Congress. An appellate court gave Texas the go-ahead to enforce an anti-drag law. The Epstein Files are worse for Trump than previously known. The Supreme Court has used the emergency docket to allow Trump's anti-trans passport policy to remain in effect during the pendency of litigation. And a federal judge finds the Trump administration defied his court order and requires Trump to pay November SNAP benefits in full by close of business today. I'm your host, Allison Gill. Hey, everyone. Happy Friday. Dana's out. She's traveling. She'll be back in your ears on Monday. But John Fugelsang will join me later for Fugelsang Fridays. I didn't think he'd be able to make it because he's on a boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, but he had some signal. He's out there with The Nation, Writers for The Nation, and we're going to talk to him later in the show. So that's very cool that he was able to get through. Also, we have a lot of news today. Most of it is like court news, but we have some good court news and some bad court news for the quick hits.
And to make a long story short, too late.
All right, let's start with the bad court news today. First from NBC, the Supreme Court's Republican-appointed majority has agreed to let the Trump administration implement its new passport policy, which has been opposed by a group of transgender and non-binary Americans. Quote, displaying passport holders' sex at birth no more offends equal protection principles than displaying their country of birth. In both cases, the government is merely attesting to a historical fact without subjecting anyone to differential treatment. That's what the conservative majority wrote on Thursday. This latest ruling in favor of the Trump administration comes over dissent from the three Democratic appointees. Quote, the documented real-world harms to these plaintiffs obviously outweigh the government's unexplained and inexplicable interest in immediate implementation of the passport policy. That's Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson writing in dissent, joined by Justices Sotomayor and Kagan. She said the majority, quote, has once again paved the way for the immediate infliction of injury without adequate or really any justification. We'll continue to watch this case. Also from Politico, a divided federal appeals court panel has given Texas the go-ahead to enforce a state law seeking to criminalize sexually oriented shows on public property, a ban that drag performers say targets them in violation of their free speech rights. The decision Thursday from the New Orleans-based Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, very conservative circuit, appears premised on the notion that the 2023 law, known as SB 12, won't be enforced against drag acts unless they include overtly sexual components. The two judges in the majority lifted an order from a lower court judge who blocked Texas from enforcing the law altogether, concluding it was clearly aimed at drag shows in violation of the First Amendment. So I guess this means somebody's going to have to decide what's considered lewd and lascivious. It's just a slippery slope, completely violating First Amendment rights. The appeals judges, Trump appointee Kurt Engelhardt and GW appointee Leslie Southwick, said a Supreme Court decision last year on state social media regulation laws changed the legal landscape sufficiently that the lower court order should be withdrawn and reconsidered. Engelhardt and Southwick also said because some drag performers and venues pressing the suit claimed they eschewed sexually explicit content, they were unlikely to be targeted for prosecution and lacked standing to pursue a preemptive suit against the law. And we know that's bullshit. This is intended to chill all speech, all drag shows. However, a third judge who partially dissented from the ruling Thursday, Clinton appointee James Dennis, warned that his colleagues were ignoring the clear intent of the legislature and top Texas officials to prohibit drag performances in public and private spaces where children are present. Quote, it's entirely plausible that the plaintiff's gendered expressions, costuming, prosthetics, and choreography could be viewed by fact finders and officials empowered to enforce SB 12 as appealing to the prurient interest in sex. That's what he wrote in his dissent. He went on to say, drag, a costumed, choreographed, and frequently parody performance that speaks in the idiom of gender, plainly participates in that protected tradition. The majority's efforts to collapse an entire art form into a few salacious acts turns these principles on their head. All right, next up in some better court news, this is from the Times. A federal judge ordered the Trump administration on Thursday to fund SNAP in full for about 42 million low-income Americans after admonishing the government for delaying aid under the nation's largest anti-hunger program during the shutdown. The order, issued by McConnell of the U.S. District Court for Rhode Island, marked his second legal rebuke of the administration for acts that threaten to leave millions of Americans at risk of financial hardship. Reading his directive from the bench after a short but tense hearing, McConnell sharply criticized the administration for ignoring his original order last week to quickly restart payments for SNAP. Now, he attributed the delay in part to an attempt by Trump and his aides to disrupt the program for political reasons. At one point, the judge pointed to comments by Trump himself, who had threatened this week to halt all food stamp payments until the end of the shutdown. While the White House later tried to walk back those remarks, the judge still saw the president's ultimatum as evidence he'd failed to comply with court instructions. Quote, "This should never happen in America," the judge said, as he warned that millions of poor families could go hungry in the absence of reliable federal aid. He gave the government until Friday to make those SNAP payments in full for November. Of course, the Trump administration has appealed because they want to continue to starve us. And from CBS, a federal judge issued a preliminary injunction against federal immigration agents over their use of force during Midway Blitz, telling lawyers for the Trump administration she found their evidence simply not credible. Quote, "It's difficult to conceive how an injunction requiring the government to comply with the Constitution could possibly be harmful." That's what Judge Sarah Ellis said as she explained her decision. She said she's granting complete relief to plaintiffs and rejected the government's request for a stay pending appeal, saying they have not made a strong showing that they're likely to succeed on the merits of their claim. Ellis says she sees no need for the tactics that agents are currently using. She said, "I would find the use of force shocks the conscience." Ellis says she's found, quote, "This conduct by federal agents shows no sign of stopping," and didn't stop after she initially issued and expanded her temporary restraining order. She said neighbors have also indicated they intend to continue protesting immigration enforcement operations. This injunction, it bars federal agents from using force against journalists. Agents may ask journalists to change their location as long as they give them reasonable time to comply, and their new location still allows them to observe government operations. Federal agents cannot disperse crowds unless justified by exigent circumstances as defined by DHS's use of force policy. They're also barred from using riot control weapons unless needed to stop harm to another person. The use of tear gas, pepper spray, or other less than lethal weapons is banned, quote, "unless such force is necessary to stop the immediate threat of physical harm to another. This includes standing or kneeling on a person's body." Ellis further ordered that 2 separate warnings must be issued verbally before any of those tactics are deployed, and they must be issued at a volume at which people can reasonably hear them. Federal agents are banned from arresting people who disobey a lawful dispersal order unless those persons have committed a crime. She said that officials' fear of inquiry cannot justify the suppression of free speech, and that while law enforcement is allowed to disperse a crowd when a threat to peace and order appears, she does not find the defendant's version of events credible. The injunction also more strictly enforces ID requirements for agents, ordering all agents who are not undercover or not uniformed have 2 separate places on their uniform that publicly identify them and their agency. All federal agents in uniform must also wear and activate their body-worn cameras. The only time a body-worn camera is not needed is during undercover activity and while conducting surveillance when enforcement is not planned, on flights or in DHS-owned facilities. Now, Ellis ordered the government to widely disseminate her injunction. This is a preliminary injunction, no longer a temporary restraining order, to all law enforcement personnel who are part of Operation Midway Blitz and all supervisors up to and including DHS Secretary Kristi Noem by 10 p.m. Thursday, last night, either electronically and or on paper. So that's what happened in court today. There was one other big thing that happened in court, but we'll get to that at the end of the Hot Notes, which comes right after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
After these
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to tell you about our new sponsor, Koyuchi. Koyuchi is in a league of its own when it comes to bedding, bath, and home products, and their organic sateen and flannel sheet sets are the key to more comfortable, healthier sleep year-round. Wellness isn't just about what I eat or put on my skin, it's also where I sleep. And Koyuchi's organic relaxed linen sheets changed everything. They're breathably soft, they look gorgeous on my bed, the colors are amazing, the packaging is fully recyclable. Even after 35 years, they still set the gold standard. And we have a deal for you from Koyuchi. You can get 20% off when you visit koyuchi.com/dailybeans. Invest in the kind of rest that actually upgrades your health. Koyuchi sheets use natural fibers, and they're certified to be free of toxins and harmful chemicals, so you can sleep safely and wake up feeling better. They're luxuriously soft from night one and even kinder to skin over time. Design-wise, Koyuchi brings effortless style. The sheen of the sateen looks tailored without trying, while velvety cotton flannels feel like a hug on colder nights. Their calming colors and botanical motifs turn the bedroom into a retreat. And beyond bedding, Koyuchi has luxury you can feel good about. Bath towels, spa robes, table linens, crib sheets, all made with natural fibers, low-impact dyes, and certified fair trade production. Everything looks great, feels amazing, and respects your health and the planet. Better sleep, better materials, better impact. So if you want healthy handcrafted luxury bedding that lasts a lifetime, you need Koyuchi. You can get 20% off your first order when you visit koyuchi.com/dailybeans. That's koyuchi.com/dailybeans to get 20% off. koyuchi.com/dailybeans. You'll be glad you did. Everybody, welcome back. It's time for Hot Notes.
Hot Notes.
All right, first up from the New Republic, rumors about Donald Trump's connection to Epstein have gripped the Republican Party. A few conservative representatives with ties to the FBI and DOJ have spilled that the true details of the Epstein Files are worse for Trump than previously reported, according to journalist David Schuster. Now, Michael Wolff, longtime chronicler of Trump's White House, who conducted extensive interviews with Epstein prior to his death, told the Daily Beast last month that Epstein had showed him photos of Trump with half-naked young girls in his lap. Now, these rumors have galvanized into a legitimate movement among Republicans who are now, according to Schuster, clamoring for the file's full release. For months, just 4 Republicans had penned their signatures on the discharge petition demanding transparency into the investigation of sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and his potential associates. Those conservative lawmakers include Thomas Massie, MTG, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva, who won the special election in Arizona in September, has also vowed to sign the petition. She says she's the last signature that the House needs to force the vote on the issue, and Mike Johnson has conveniently refused to swear her in for like 45 days now. The disturbing new rumor has dredged up far more support, with more than 100 Republicans planning to vote alongside Democrats in an effort to get in front of what's coming, according to Schuster. The Trump administration has failed at every turn to mitigate anxieties about Trump's longtime friendship with the child sex criminal. The typically bombastic Attorney General Pam Bondi was silent when asked about the photos during a Senate hearing last month, a choice that further spooked several Republican lawmakers, with many interpreting her non-response as a very vocal yes. So this is interesting. There are people with ties to the FBI and the DOJ, Republicans in Congress, saying that what's in the Epstein files is far worse than what even Michael Wolff was talking about. So we'll keep an eye on this. And content warning for violence on this next story is from Reuters. A federal agent who shot a Chicago woman multiple times after he said she struck his vehicle with her own bragged about his shooting skills in text messages with other agents, according to records presented Wednesday at a hearing in the case against the woman. U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent Charles Exum shot U.S. citizen Marimar Martinez, who was warning others about immigration enforcement agents in Brighton Park. And they shot her 5 times on October 4th after their cars collided. Martinez said the federal agent's vehicle rammed her car, not the other way around. Federal prosecutors said the shooting was an act of self-defense. Martinez was indicted on October 10th along with another man, Anthony Santos Ruiz, on federal charges of impeding a federal officer with a deadly weapon, Martinez's car being the deadly weapon. Both were released on bond and attended Wednesday's hearing. Records presented at the hearing showed that in a group signal chat with other agents, which Exum described as a support group, he wrote, in part, I fired 5 rounds, and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. In a message to another recipient, Exum sent a news article about the event, followed by the message, read it, 5 shots, 7 holes. When Christopher Parente, an attorney for Marimar Martinez, asked Exum what he meant by those messages, he said, I'm a firearms instructor. I take pride in my shooting skills. Now, Exum testified about driving his vehicle to Maine after the incident, where repairs were made by a Customs and Border Protection mechanic before the defendants could examine the vehicle, right? Because he's claiming she rammed him. He's claiming he rammed her. He was the guy who pulled up alongside her and said, do something, bitch, and then opened fire. In a response to Martinez's motion for a hearing regarding the destruction of the evidence, the car being the evidence, the government said that after the shooting, the FBI took photos of the government-issued Chevy Tahoe, and they took paint samples of the damaged area at the FBI's Chicago field office. It was then released back to Exum that evening without any special instructions or restrictions. Exum said he then drove the Tahoe over 1,000 miles back to Calais, Maine, where he is assigned to a Customs and Border Protection station from October 8th to 10th, parking it at a CBP facility. He said he later found out the repairs, including buffing out black marks, were made to the vehicle. The government presented an exhibit from an email from Exum's supervisor, Kevin Kellenberger, stating that he had approved the repairs. But in cross, Parente noted that documentation from an FBI interview with Exum contradicted that version of events, with Exum telling agents he had asked for the repairs. When asked about the disparity between the FBI's account and his own, Exum said the agent who interviewed him had made a mistake. Our lawyers for Marimar Martinez and Ruiz questioned Exum on Wednesday about whether his experience at the agency should have indicated to him the possible value of the vehicle as evidence and the need to preserve it. Exum responded that because the vehicle was released to him by the FBI, he believed it was no longer necessary. It was no longer necessary to preserve it as evidence. After the collision and shooting on October 4th, a crowd of protesters gathered around the scene on the southwest side of Chicago, and agents responded by deploying tear gas. The incident came amid an ongoing immigration enforcement surge in Chicago area, directed by the administration, the Trump administration, that began in September, called Operation Midway Blitz. So not only is he bragging about shooting at this woman, but he destroyed evidence by asking for repairs to the car, probably from where he hit her, and then driving it 1,000 miles. So, I mean, I would say it's unbelievable, but it's really not. Next up from the Times, Nancy Pelosi announced on Thursday she's going to retire when her term concludes in 2027, ending a remarkable career in which she rose to become one of the most powerful women in American history. Pelosi, 85, was the nation's first and only female House Speaker, and she will have represented San Francisco in Congress for 39 years when she leaves office. She has served during an era of seismic change for American society and her own city, from the throes of the AIDS crisis to the legalization of gay marriage and through the meteoric rise of the tech sector and now the nation's extreme polarization. She entered political office later in life and became a hero to Democrats for the way that she wielded her immense power to push Obamacare, climate change legislation, infrastructure programs, all the bills that Biden passed. There's too many to name here. She got those through Congress with a very slim majority. So Speaker Pelosi is retiring. And from NBC, you ready? Jurors showed no appetite for the Justice Department's case against Sandwich Guy. The D.C. resident who chucked a Subway sandwich at the chest of a federal officer, they found him not guilty Thursday after several hours of deliberations. The jury, which feasted on sandwiches for lunch Thursday, according to a person familiar with jury lunches, deliberated the charges for several hours Wednesday and Thursday before delivering the verdict. The man, Sean Dunn, former Justice Department paralegal, faced a single misdemeanor count after a federal grand jury rejected more serious charges over the encounter, which took place in the nightlife area of U Street in August. Border Patrol Officer Greg Larimore received 2 gag gifts related to the incident, a plush sandwich and a patch featuring a cartoon of Dunn throwing the sandwich with the words felony footlong, which the defense team argued showed that this was not a serious event in his life. Larimore testified that the sandwich exploded all over his chest and claimed he could smell mustard and onions. But a photo showed the sandwich was still in its wrapper on the ground after it hit Larimer's bulletproof vest. Images of Dunn became a symbol of resistance to the Trump administration in Washington, with murals popping up on walls depicting a man throwing a sandwich, and with people placing sandwiches in the hands of giant skeletons in their yards for Halloween. Sean Dunn told NBC News it was heartening to get so much support from his fellow Washingtonians, but that he's not comfortable with the hero narrative. Asked if he thought residents who lack full representation in Congress were registering their dissent to the federal takeover of the city and finding him not guilty, he said, perhaps. Quote, as always, we accept the jury's verdict. That's the system within which we function. However, law enforcement should never be subjected to assault, no matter how minor. Even children know when they're angry, they're not allowed to throw objects at one another. That's what Janine Pirro said in a written statement. In closing arguments, defense attorney Sabrina Schroff argued the sandwich could not and did not cause harm. Quote, this case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is about a sandwich. All right, everybody, we'll be back with John Fugelsang, followed by the good news after this quick break. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's Friday on the Daily Beans, which means it's Fugelsang Fridays. And I thought I was going to be all by my lonesome today with Dana out and John Fugelsang at sea. But he's got a signal, everyone, from the middle of nowhere, out on the ocean. You can also obviously hear him weeknights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific on Tell Me Everything, Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127. New York Times bestselling author of The Separation of Church and Hate. You definitely need to pick up a copy of that if you haven't already. It's amazing. And of course, John Fugelsang Show podcast, Substack. He's everywhere. Please welcome my good friend, John Fugelsang. Hey, John, welcome to the Beans from the middle of what, the Pacific?
Dr. Gill, I have never joined your show from a cruise ship on the ocean before. Like, we're not even docked today. And I've been spending all week telling these very nice older folks who subscribe to The Nation magazine, Donald Trump won't blow up a boat that's full of English-speaking white people. You're okay. I promise. You're okay. And what a time to be off the coast when America is having an intervention and an exorcism at the same time on Election Day.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Your thoughts, because, you know, my first top line thoughts were, I was surprised, happily surprised at how fast every race was called, meaning it was such a blowout that they didn't have to wait until votes came in and red mirage happened and it got closer. And
that's right.
You know, I think the only too close to call race was like the first 10 minutes of the attorney general race in Virginia. But man, we swept the board.
I mean, Mikey Sherrill in Jersey, that race was called 13 minutes after the polls closed. That's faster than some Trump marriages. And that was the one they told us to worry about.
Yeah.
I mean, she ended Jack Citarelli's Jersey Guy Act faster than HBO canceled Vinyl. It was beautiful. I mean, all around the country. I can't tell you. On election night, we were doing an event for the nation's 160th anniversary in San Francisco with Jerry Brown and Robert Reich and like 500 people crammed into a theater. And Allison, it was just a party. I mean, the Democrats, they didn't just win. They went full Oprah. It was like, you get a governorship, you get a seat, you get a conscience. I mean, it's so nice to see here we're in November and fascism's not invited to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and a couple of arguments from the right, you know, oh, well, these were Democratic strongholds. Really? Mississippi? Getting rid of the supermajority there? 13 seats flipping in the Virginia Assembly? Really? 2 statewide Georgia races won by 15 or more points for those commission's seats that, again, statewide races? This is why Marjorie Taylor Greene is scooting over to the middle. Because she knows.
Oh, isn't it amazing watching that? Yeah.
She's on the losing side.
I mean, yeah, Marge is not doing this because she found Jesus. This is the same craven self-interest that has always defined her. And when you see the most amoral of the party, who only believe what gets them more power or continues their power, turning on Trump, when you got Marge Greene telling the truth about Obamacare subsidies, when you've got Thomas Massey telling the truth about the Epstein Files, when you got Rand Paul telling the truth about murdering people in boats, I'm like horseman party of 4 over here. But I mean, Trump was flipping out like, I wasn't on the ballot. I wasn't on the ballot. Yeah, that's why it worked. You know, like him bragging that he wasn't on the ballot. That was like, that's not leadership. That's an alibi. This guy, Putin ghosted him. She played him like a kazoo. Kim Jong-un's not writing him love letters anymore. And this guy was in Mar-a-Lago typing in all caps on Truth Social all night. Trump wasn't on the ballot. And I mean, he blamed the shutdown. He blamed the bad candidates. He blamed the moon phase, the deep state, the wind turbines. He even said the media was hiding his victories. This is beautiful. Because you can tell he's completely I really believe he was shocked. I believe he is surrounded by Stephen Miller type yes men who are always reassuring him the polls are all rigged. I do believe that he was astonished by this. And they keep trying to sell us this white Christian nationalism in a red hat and seeing America just say, no, you know what? We'll stick with boring democracy. Thank you. It was honestly, it was just like America saying to Donald Trump, get thee behind me, loser. And Abigail Spanberger beat Winsome Sears so hard. I mean, my mom and my grandmother are both from Virginia. And to think about that there's going to be a woman governor, like finally a governor who doesn't think The Handmaid's Tale is a to-do list. California voters passing Prop 50, which was fantastic. And of course, in New York, wow. Donald Trump called Andrew Cuomo the lesser of two evils. Imagine you're Andrew Cuomo and the most popular you've ever been is because you had the guts to take on Trump during COVID. And now you're groveling for Trump's endorsement. Yeah. Like he could have rejected it. But I mean, and Trump just saying he's the lesser of two evils. Dude, you're the greater of three evils. You don't get to host the ranking ceremony. Now they get to watch Zohran Mamdani have all the compassion that Christians are supposed to have for the poorest. And they're still trying to call this guy a terrorist jihadist who was also partying in a gay bar till 2 a.m. They're the gang that can't smear straight. And the hate is all they've got. And I don't want to sound too hippie-ish, but I mean, this was love versus cruelty, and love won by a landslide.
Yeah, no, fully. And I've seen a lot of people try to, people who are mad about Mamdani's win try to say, oh, well, he only just got above 50%. Look at what Mikey Sherrill did. Look at what Spanberger did. He didn't win by those margins. Well, yeah, those people also didn't have a second Democrat in a three-way race. When you can secure more than 50% of the vote in a three-way race with 2 Democrats in New York City, that is a decisive victory.
But again, the bigots will always try to be bigots. They don't care that there were Muslims who died on 9/11. They don't care that a Muslim EMT medic was one of the first people to die on 9/11, running into the collapse to save people. I mean, just look at social media, and it's all these bigots like showing pictures of 9/11, exploiting the violence and murders of 9/11, what happened to my city, exploiting it to mock my city for choosing this man of peace, this man who stands up for the least of us, the way the Christians are supposed to. These right-wing Christians and these right-wing Muslims don't realize that they have more in common with each other than with the rest of their religion. And it was right-wing fundamentalist Muslims who attacked us on 9/11, not a progressive Muslim like Zohran Mamdani. And it's right-wing Christians who are happy to smear all the Muslims, not the left-wing Christians like the Jesus they worship but do not follow. So I just think now this guy, Mamdani, gets to continue with this kindness, continue with this warmth, and shame all these people with his goodness. I mean, they're all thinking that he's going to try to do to New York with conservative religion, what they're trying to do to the country overall with conservative Christianity. I'm under no illusions that Zohran Mamdani is going to be able to do all the things he plans. He's going to smack into a political brick wall of reality, much like Bill Clinton and Barack Obama did their first year. But that's going to be the real test. How he handles the next year. And I assume the police unions are going to try to bury this guy like they buried Bill de Blasio. But I have a feeling he's going to be able to handle it a bit better than Mayor de Blasio did. And I'm really looking forward to New York leading. It's just, I love my city more than ever for this choice.
Yeah, and I think the voters are also going to, not fall for this either. We're adults, right? That we understand how government works. We know that if you run on XYZ, that you still have to, saying that that's what you want to do, that those are your ideas, doesn't mean that you can get them through and past the bureaucracy and through the red tape. I think it's going to expose the bureaucracy and the red tape. And I think that it's very important. And me personally, I'm sitting here like, look, I think this is going to be a great shakeup for the Dem establishment, because I have long wanted my party to say, here's what I want. These are the things that I want. And then when they get into office and say, I wanted this, but here's what happened to it. Biden, for example, when he said, I wanted student debt relief, but the Republicans sued me and blocked it, and the Supreme Court blocked it all. We're not 9. We don't expect you to say, I'm going to forgive all student debt and then get in and magically do it. But we do want to know what stopped you from doing it and how we can help you remove those roadblocks as voters. And I think that this win for Mamdani, and the fact that Obama called him up and said, we need to team up. Let me be a sounding board. One of the ultimate arbiters of the party, whether you're an establishment Dem or a progressive Dem, right, is now like, this is the way forward, regardless of the policy choices. It's how to run and win. And Obama recognizes that. How do you think that this win is going to shake up the Democratic establishment of, really, let's be honest, of which there are like 9 people left?
I don't know about that. I think the Democratic establishment is much more deeply entrenched than just 9 people. And that's why it's so uninspiring for so many. But you're right. I relate to everything you're saying. It's one of the reasons why I think so many of us defended Bill Clinton in his first term for all of the neoliberal capitulations. The man fought. So just for me as a young person who'd grown up under Reagan and Bush, seeing how hard that man fought to bring crappy healthcare, better healthcare to people than what we had, and he failed. But it's just, you want to see someone who's going to get in there and fight for you. Now, I thought it was great when Barack Obama called Zohran Mamdani, but he never endorsed him.
Well, he's never endorsed a mayoral candidate. The only mayoral candidate he ever endorsed was way back when Mayor Bass was in a close race with a former Democrat Republican businessman, and it was super, super close. He jumped in and endorsed. Other than that, he's never really endorsed a candidate. He should start. But it would have helped. I mean, it would have been very, very inspiring with this one. And I think that I'm willing to give the Democratic establishment a lot of benefit of the doubt on this. I have no doubt that Schumer and Jeffries have talked to Mamdani and said, look, this is our situation. We're going to help you all we can. We're in this position because of our donor base. But once you get it, we're going to help you and support you. And I hope we see that. I'd like to
see a picture.
That would be better than what I'm worried about.
I'd like to see a picture of the mayor with the congressman. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see they get behind him rather than just hold him out there. But I mean, look what this guy did with so little support from the Democratic establishment. Look what he did with so little support from big money donors, and the big money lined up behind Andrew Cuomo and Donald Trump on this one. This is such a victory. Not for this skinny 33-year-old Muslim dude with a smile. This is a victory for representative democracy and pluralism, and the Jews and the Muslims and the immigrants and the Gentiles and the atheists of New York City coming together for this guy. I'm sorry, I can't even be cynical about it. And when we see that Pennsylvania reelected the 3 Democratic justices, and Orlando voted out their last Republican councilman, and J.D. Vance's half-brother couldn't get 25% of the vote for Cincinnati mayor, take that, atheists. I'm sorry. God wants us to laugh this week.
Yeah, I am with you. I can't be cynical about it either. And I'm hoping that this kind of reinvigorates the idea that we actually can have nice things if we all get together and work for them.
Yeah, don't you think it does? It does. I'm sorry. It really did feel like an exorcism. Again, I was at a big event surrounded by all these lefties, so, I'm biased, but...
that must have been amazing. That must have been just insane, that room that night when all that went down.
Being in a room with Jerry Brown and Robert Reich on this election day was crazy. And, Elie Mystal and John Nichols, I mean, just great, all the great writers for The Nation and Anne Lamott. But, for me, it just looks like America called their bluff. Right? I mean, they tried to ban books. We read the fine print. They tried to ban history. We remembered it anyway. They tried to remove Jackie Robinson from a Pentagon website. They probably tried to remove him from the movie 31. But again, people showed up, and Democrats should take a nice long victory lap. They should be very, very pleased. Look, to hear the next day that now suddenly they think maybe they should try for the Senate. And let's not forget the real story here. Republicans are watching all of this, and for all of their denial about it, they're terrified. And today it was announced, our friend David Schuster announced that they have been told, the Republicans in Congress, that Donald Trump's presence in the Epstein Files is much stronger and worse for Trump than Republicans have feared. So they're already terrified about the midterms. They're so terrified they've been trying to rig Texas a year and a half in advance. Now these decisive losses across the board. But now the DOJ has told them this week that the unreleased Epstein Files are even more compromising for Donald Trump than anything Michael Wolff has already said. So this is all happening this week, and these events are all related. Never forget, it was after Donald Trump sued Rupert Murdoch for $22 billion for reporting about the Epstein birthday card. The very next day, Rupert Murdoch reported that Pam Bondi had told Trump he was in the files back in May. Republicans know what's coming, and now begins the great pivot. How do these guys not enrage Trump, but start putting space between themselves and Trump? Because he is not going to be helping them next year in the midterm, and I don't think he cares about helping. You see him talk about getting rid of the filibuster like he just thought of that for the first time, and how terrified all the Republicans in the room were. They're panicking right now. Keep the pressure on. It feels nice to be patriotic, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe he's building that ballroom bunker not to protect himself from us, but to protect himself from the Yarvins and Teals and the Republicans that are going to try to get rid of him.
I mean, just incredible.
He's an albatross. He's just an albatross, and everybody knows it. Like you and I have long talked about, I don't think he plans on leaving. He doesn't care. He's not up for re-election, but everybody else in this government is and wants to continue to be in this leadership or in their leadership positions. And you're not going to be able to hang on to him. Mm-hmm.
And that's important because, I almost forgot to mention that all this happened the same day Dick Cheney died. And look at how many prominent Republicans are praising Dick Cheney, and all the Republicans who are waxing rhapsodic about Dick Cheney's life and career of service and all the good he did for this. Actually, no, I don't see too many Republicans doing that. Do you, Dr. Gill? I don't see a lot of Republican wailing over Dick Cheney. What does that tell you? 20 years ago, they hated us for telling the truth about this man. Now they don't try to hide the truth about this man. In 10 years, when Trump is long dead, these Republicans will be denying they ever voted for him. I've been saying this on your show for a year now, and it's true. Look at how they wanted nothing to do with Cheney. This guy right now, my God, you look at this economy. I mean, he's the only president who could make 2008 look like the good old days. I mean, Thanksgiving's going to be cheap this year because nobody can afford to come, right? Like the Mar-a-Lago's going to
fly there because the planes are all grounded.
Yeah, exactly. America's middle class is vanishing like Melania Trump on breeding night. And these Republicans are scared because not only do they know Trump won't be on the ballot next year and he won't help them, they also know he doesn't care about Republicans or anything. He doesn't care about them at all, and they all know it. So now they've got to start deciding, before fascism gets voted off the island, how much space will they put between themselves and this guy? I mean, he's not even reporting job numbers anymore because the numbers refuse to lie for him. Like the economy's not, MAGA's beginning to collapse. And again, they're still plenty strong. Fascism is still a mighty power, but they're not going to become more popular. The Epstein Files are not going away. I don't want to see tariffs hurt working people, but man, these red state voters need a lesson to be taught. And they didn't learn it under Bush. They haven't learned it under this guy.
He's trying to convince people that prices are really actually going down. That's one thing about the economy isn't that
great? He should keep saying that, by the way. He should keep saying that.
You might be able to lie to people and say you're going to fix it, but you can't trick people into thinking prices are going down when they're going up.
Yeah, don't believe your own lying eyes.
Yeah. And so not only that, but Mike Johnson today was saying, what did he say? That, prices are going up on food because they always go up. It's built into inflation. Like he's now acknowledging, because you cannot hide affordability from American voters. You can't.
Nope. I heard Mar-a-Lago's going to start having bring your own caviar nights. So it's bad. I mean, thoughts and prayers.
Bring your own Subway 100%. Sandwich. Did you hear? Was there a big explosion of cheers in the room on your boat when they acquitted sandwich guy?
No, I wasn't really, that whole story to me is look, I get off on wasting food as much as the next first world white person. But please, folks, don't throw a sandwich at politicians, and please let there not be a wave of people throwing sandwiches at ICE agents now. Can we please donate our food we don't want and not waste it? Can we go back? I was raised on the old school values of throwing a shoe at politicians you don't like. Folks, let's get back to traditional values. Please. And if you get a chance, please throw a shoe at Dick Cheney's funeral motorcade if you get a chance.
And please remember, this was jury nullification. It is still actually simple assault to throw a sandwich at a cop. Don't do it. This jury just decided to acquit. But I thought there'd be a hung jury. I thought there'd be a mistrial. But all 12 of them anonymously acquitted the guy. But, another embarrassment for Pirro and I think it kind of goes a little bit beyond just the sandwich guy, is that, ICE is trying to arrest people for assault and they're losing and they're having to dismiss charges and they're getting no bills. And, when we had a real assault on police officers on January 6th, who were all commuted and had their charges dropped or pardoned. So I think it sends a fun message. If it cost us all a penny in taxpayer dollars to run that trial, I think that penny is worth the jokes that we got out of it. But yes, do not throw sandwiches at cops. That is assault. And if you don't have a friendly jury like you might have in D.C. with Sandwich Guy, and there aren't memorials erected in your memory for throwing the sandwich, you might actually get convicted.
And let's also not lose sight of the fact the deportation industrial complex is eating itself alive. I mean, ICE and Border Patrol are officially in the Real Housewives of DHS era, because you've got Trump deciding that ICE isn't Nazi enough, so he's replacing ICE leadership with Customs and Border Patrol. Like this ICE purge last week, like it's the Apprentice Deportation Edition.
ICE is too woke.
They've decided that ICE was too woke. Oh, yeah. And Kristi Noem with her 172 million fleet of Gulfstream jets that we pay for during a lockdown. Corey Lewandowski, her creepy boyfriend, Tom Homan, through all of this, the bribe guy who looks like every angry stepdad who screams at a Chipotle employee. And in the middle of all of this, you got this guy, Todd Lyons, the ICE director, totally caught in the middle. But I mean, it's so chaotic. It's like the purge on bad oxy. And Trump is loving it. He's loving it. Like, they're literally saying, ICE, you're not evil enough, so we're going to bring in Border Patrol to replace you. Like, my God, Bovino is chucking canisters into suburban Chicago. They're all at war with each other. So we just have to keep our eyes on the prize, recognize that in a cult of selfishness, every member will eventually turn on each other. That's what defines MAGA and the organization. They all don't care about anything but themselves. And those are the people who will always turn on each other. Donald Trump doesn't believe in loyalty. He believes in obedience. And now and for Jeanine Pirro, like they just dodged a bullet last week when they fired the two prosecutors who told the truth about that case because Jeanine Pirro signed off on it. And then they realized what she had done in her Chardonnay-soaked haze, fired the prosecutors for telling the truth, and put out yet another sentencing guideline. Like, these guys are a mess. They're bad at their job. No one respects them, and they don't respect each other. Keep the pressure on. And if we can just find a way to keep the left from murdering each other for just another year, 52 weeks, that's all we need. Please, moderates and liberals, don't hate each other for just 1 year. And I'm so excited what's going to happen. I mean, as soon as the Democrats take the House, it's going to be a whole new ballgame. And Donald Trump will be powerless, or at least much more powerless. And I'm here for it. I refuse to give up hope in the American people. I do. And what we just saw this week, look at Zohran Mamdani. Look at how this is scaring the Democrats into exactly the place of decency they need to be scared to. I'm not an optimist. I'm a recovering cynic. And honestly, these same people who spent 8 years screaming about law and order, and now look at them. You're right. They had cops beaten for a lie, and they're turning law enforcement into this cage match between Ice Barbie and Captain Tear Gas. These guys are going to be tearing each other apart. Let's help them.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the one part of authoritarianism that Donald Trump forgot about in his lessons from Putin was that you got to spend about a decade greasing all the other oligarchs to make sure they're on your side. Otherwise, they're all going to come after you. I don't think he has that that one piece in place. But
I think the oligarchs got everything they wanted out of this guy. The oligarchs got their massive tax cut. They got their deregulation. They got their crypto loophole. They don't need any more from this guy. They don't like the ICE nonsense. They don't like troops in the cities. They don't like the tariffs. None of it's good for business. The oligarchs love the undocumented labor force. They make more profit that way. I mean, this is going to be the really evil guys eventually crushing this one evil guy.
yeah, and his Stephen Miller.
And maybe the rest of us could get some democracy to happen in the meantime.
Yeah, well, we'll see. And I've woke up with a lot of hope this week on November 5th. So thanks to everybody who worked real hard. Now it's time to roll up your sleeves even further and continue the work. My friend, it's been wonderful talking to you. Please tell Ellie Mistal I said hello, along with all the other Atlantic writers there. And, we'll see you next week.
No Nation writers here. The Atlantic cruise I don't get invited on. Yeah.
Nation. That's right. I forgot. They've moved from Atlantic to the Nation. Anyway, please tell them I said hello. And we'll be back next week. I hope you travel safe. In the meantime, everybody make sure you check out Tell Me Everything on Sirius XM. Progress, channel 127, weeknights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. John Fugelsang Show podcast, John Fugelsang Substack. And of course, get your copies, plural, for all of your gift-giving needs this holiday season of The Separation of Church and Hate. New York Times bestseller, my good friend, John Fugelsang.
Oh, Dr. Gill, thank you. Can I get one quick plug into it? You already mentioned so many things, but this Wednesday, we are doing our tour for the book, The Separation of Church and Hate Tour in Washington, D.C. at Union Stage. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a book tour with stand-up comedy in a rock club. And we're going to film it for a pay-per-view, which I'll be talking about next week. But my special guest moderator will be Mr. Glenn Kirster. So if you're in D.C. or in the D.C. area, come on down Wednesday. That's November 12th. You can go to unionstagepresents.com for tickets, and all tickets come with a free copy of the book. So we'd love to see you come hang out with me and Mr. Kirshner in our nation's capital this week.
Amazing. Thank you so much, my friend. We'll see you next week. Everybody stick around. We'll be right back with the good news. Everybody, welcome back. It's time for the good news.
Who likes good news? Everyone? Then good news, everyone.
Good news. And if you have any good news or good trouble suggestions, you can send it to us at dailybeanspod.com. Click on contact. You can also include corrections, including pronunciation corrections. Maybe your good news could be something small that happened to you this week or something big that happened to you 20 years ago. We want to share in your joy. Maybe tell us what you were doing on election night when the results came in. I know I was having a very happy night that night, or where you were when Sandwich Guy was acquitted. You can send in shout outs to loved ones or small businesses, nonprofits, government programs that have helped you or a loved one, self shout outs. We love to hear about those too. And again, you can send it all to us, dailybeanspod.com, click on contact. And of course, all you got to do to get your submission read on the air is pay your pod pet tariff, which means attach a photo of your pet. If you don't have a pet, send an adoptable pet in your area. If you don't have that, find a random animal photo on the internet. We also love bird watching photos, which can be a bird or you and your family or friends flipping the bird to Trump buildings. Everybody's got one or two of those in their phone if they've been to Chicago or New York or Las Vegas. We'd love to see those. Also, send a photo of a rally or your election night result party or your happy place, your hobby. What are you doing to pass the time between now and, the next good trouble that we can do? You can send us all of those photos and all of your good news. Flood us with it. dailybeanspod.com. Click on contact. All right. First up is your good trouble. If your representative or senator is a Democrat, call them and thank them for continuing to work during the shutdown. If you have a Republican representative, call them and let them know they ought to be working, and Speaker Johnson needs to swear in Adelita Grijalva. If your senators are Republicans, call them and let them know you agree with Trump, that they have the power to open the government. Either negotiate with Dems or nuke the filibuster. Remind them that this shutdown is their choice. Excellent recommendation for some good trouble sent in by an anonymous listener. And remind them the shutdown is their choice, and remind them how the American people view it because of the results of Tuesday's elections. All right. First good news is from Anonymous, pronouns he and him, Georgia PSC correction. The PSC, like most statewide elected offices in Georgia, was dominated by Democrats from its post-Reconstruction inception in the 90s. One of the current commissioners was a Democrat until he switched parties. There were 2 counties with a slight redshift, not one, both under 3%. The overall average statewide blue shift was almost 11%. The largest blue shift was in a rural county east of Macon at almost 25%. Wow, thank you, Anonymous. My pod pet tariff is my little LED candle dumpster fire that I assembled from a scale model metal dumpster and an LED tea light. Love you both. And I'm enjoying the video experiment. Thank you so much, Anonymous. By the way, everybody, that video experiment, Dana and I are doing daily Beans Talk video podcasts. We're releasing them to patrons for all of this month, and then we're going to start releasing them to the public after we incorporate all of our patrons' feedback. We're going to start releasing them to the public on December 1st. So if you want to become a patron, give your feedback, and stay a patron to get those episodes ad-free and early, to get these episodes ad-free and early, and the Unjustified podcast as well, you can go to patreon.com/ Mueller She Wrote. That's the right one. Either that or patreon.com/ The Daily Beans. Either of those work. All right, next up from Alexa, pronouns she and her. Hi, Beans Queens. Just wanted to give a shout out to myself and new friends. The past few months, I've been dealing with severe mental health issues and just recently finished a partial hospitalization program. So congratulations to myself, A, M, and N, for graduating. I'm so proud of you and I love you. I've also attached a photo of Evie, the lovable Maine Coon with resting bitch face. Keep up the great work, Queens. Thank you, Alexa. Congratulations on that program, finishing that program. Look at this sweet Maine Coon. I had a Maine Coon that looked just like this. His name was The Face. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, she? Yes. Well, I'm assuming resting bitch face. I could be wrong. But Evie is beautiful. Next up, from Marnie, pronouns she and her, Election Day 2025, and maggots didn't win anything. Seats flipped blue in Mississippi even. I went to a watch party with some protest buddies. One was having her 33rd birthday. On election night, we had cake for her, but no one had matches or a lighter to light the candles. But she was still happy because we got her a great gift. Prop 50 passing here in California and the blue tsunami across the country. We're a group of people ranging in age, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Some of us met in the streets in the protests in the past summer. We're a diverse group in many ways, and the same in our mission. ICE out of LA and fuck fascism all the way. We protest, we organize, we protect, we canvass, we flyer and sticker. We paint banners and drop them on freeway overpasses. We film, we document, we call, we email. We write postcards and speak up at town halls and council meetings. We never shut up. So this is a shout out to all of us who've been doing all of that, and we're just getting started. And it's a delicious thank you to every single person who did any single thing to get in good and necessary trouble. Love y'all, and I mean it. Unlike billionaires, I pay my taxes, so here's a pic of my cats, both rescues from my courtyard. Whether you're a cat or something else, if you show up hungry, I feed you. The big spoon, the black cat, is Clarence Catwater Revival. His boyfriend is the dainty Tux, Neva, and he was never going to live with me. They're smitten with each other, and they hate fascism. Oh my gosh, they're adorable. That cat is a lot bigger than the other cat. Are they both full-grown babies? Marnie, they're wonderful. Thank you so much for all that. Really appreciate it. Next up from L, pronouns they and them. My cat Sky had a small stroke on Sunday, October 26th, but as a couple of days ago, she has relearned how to walk. She's a little over 21 and a half years old. This is Sky cuddling with her best cat friend, Shelly, and the, lumbar cat pillow. Oh my gosh, I love it. What a sweet baby. 21 and a half, L. It's impressive. I'm glad they're on the mend. Next up from Melissa, she, her-ish. Greetings. Thanks for all you do. The way you report, care, fight, and love. It comes through beautifully. A bit of good news. I had the privilege yesterday of bringing a team of colleagues to the Best Day Shelter here in Portland, Oregon, Rosehaven, for a team volunteer event. We folded clothes, sorted hygiene supplies, and rolled blankets into sleeping bags. It was so good to share this special place. spending time there and hearing firsthand what they do to help reduce the stigma surrounding homelessness was amazing. For fun, I've attached a pic of me mooning the ICE facility in Portland and one of Good Time Rosie, my shelter pup, who brings her ass hattery to work every day. Luckily, she also excels at snuggles. Corgi, Catahoula, and miniature dachshund. Not mixed, more like slapped together from spare dog parts. Okay, so she's awesome, and I love the way she sits, and I also love the fabric on your couch. And look at that incredible photo. This is so great. Melissa, thank you so much for sharing this. Helping people, there's something about it that it just feeds your soul like 10 times the amount of effort you put in. I can't explain it unless you've experienced it. So thank you for that work. Next up from Anonymous, pronouns she and her. Hi, AG and DG. You asked to hear about reactions to elections, so here goes. I don't live in Virginia. I live right across the border in North Carolina, walking distance from my Virginia neighbors. For me and my family, the Virginia elections were a big deal because my spouse works in Virginia. We shop in Virginia. My disabled daughter sees all her specialists at the Children's Hospital in Virginia, and my transgender daughter gets her gender-affirming care at Planned Parenthood in Virginia. I put a lot into the election. I wrote postcards. I phone banked. I reminded my friends over and over to go vote until they texted me pictures of their I voted stickers to make me stop. I wasn't going to leave anything on the table. We were elated on Tuesday night when they called the races so quickly. I'd fully expected to go to bed not knowing the outcome. Me too, Anonymous, me too. But it didn't fully sink in how much it meant until Wednesday morning when I was with my daughter in the waiting room at Planned Parenthood for her regular appointment to manage her gender-affirming care. As we sat there waiting, I burst into tears of relief. I hadn't realized how heavy the weight of wondering if we'd still be able to access care was until it wasn't there. So thank you, Virginia. Thank you for believing in democracy. Thank you for protecting women's reproductive freedom. Thank you for protecting transgender people's rights to access gender-affirming care. Thank you for caring about your neighbors, even the ones across borders. Oh, it's beautifully said, Anonymous. Pod Pet Tariff is our pup when he was younger, asking if he can please bring his outside toys inside. That is a mighty fine stick. A sweet puppy. I'm guessing a golden. Wonderful submission. Thank you so very much. His elections were so important. All right, our last submission is from Anonymous Shit My Dad Says. My 84-year-old dad reads every book on climate change that comes out, and he likes to say he wants to live long enough to see Mar-a-Lago underwater. I hope that doesn't happen for climate's sake, but that's really funny. Thank you for that dad joke. Send us all your dad jokes and all your good news, all your photos, all your happy places, all your election results party photos. Send it all to us. dailybeanspod.com. Click on contact. Everybody has earned a restful and wonderful weekend. I hope everyone stays safe. I will be in your ears on Sunday on the Midas Network at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time with The Breakdown, my video podcast. Patrons, I'll be seeing you on the video bonus podcast, the new podcast that we're testing out, Beans Talk. Andy and I will see you on the public unjustified feed on Sunday. If you're a Cleanup on Aisle 45 patron, Harry and I will see you on the weekend bonus episode. Could I put out more content, as Miss Chanandler Bong would say? I knew I would get that name right if I just thought about it for a second. Anyway, I appreciate you all so much. Again, Dana's going to be back in your ears on Monday with me. Until then, everybody, please, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, and take care of your family. I've been AG, and them's the beans.
The Daily Beans is written and executive produced by Allison Gill with additional research and reporting by Dana Goldberg. Sound design and editing is by Desiree McFarlane, with art and web design by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios. Music for The Daily Beans is written and performed by They Might Be Giants, and the show is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, please visit mswmedia.com.
MSW Media.